One of Srila Guru Maharaj's themes was absolute consideration and relative consideration. And that always we have to factor in these two things. And he mentioned as well that Srila Saraswati Thakur, particularly in his final days, was fond of saying, religion means proper adjustment. So, adjustment between absolute consideration and relative consideration. In this regard, one story he told comes to mind that after Kurukshetra, this one Brahmin named Utanka, he found Krishna and he said, "You, Krishna, you're responsible for all this death and destruction, for creating so many widows, like alluded to in Bhagavad Gita, Varna Shankara, illegitimate children in societies, all the effects, the negative effects of war, and particularly here, the Kurukshetra war." So Utanka said, "You, Krishna, you are responsible for all of these things, and therefore I'm going to curse you." And Krishna said, "Hold that thought." He said, "Before you do that, consider this." He said, as a Brahmin, you're situated in the higher aspect of the saguna plane. Saguna means with gunas, with qualities. What are those qualities? Tama, Raja, Sattva, ignorance, passion, goodness. That's mundane world. So the Brahmin being the highest aspect of the mundane. It's a good position. Go Brahmana hitaya cha, jagaditaya krishnaya. Krishna likes the Brahmins. We're told the Brahmins' hearts are by nature pure. So it's a nice sitting place for Krishna. Still, it's the highest aspect of the mundane. So Krishna said, you're from that position, and by your austerities, your tapasya, your adherence to religious principles, your sanskar, so much in your favor, you've accumulated this energy, and also in terms of power over the mundane. And Krishna reminded him, he said, but I'm situated in the nirguna plane. So you're going to curse me from the saguna plane, and it's not going to have any effect upon me because I'm in the nirguna plane. Right? So don't waste your energy in that way. So for the devotees, those culturing Krishna consciousness under the guidance of Sadhu, Shastra, Guru, Vaishnava, they're viewing the world and life circumstances differently according to inner spiritual necessity, you could say. So many different points of view are observable to them, as you allude to, that from one point of view, the material world, it looks so undesirable, and it's described as such in the scriptures. But tatenu kampam susamikshmano, susamiksha means on a deeper level reading, to see the friendly hand of Krishna in the background, the will of Krishna in the background. That's some higher adjustment. And from that position, the Mahabhagavata, their angle of vision is everything's adjusted. Everything's proceeding perfectly according to the will of Krishna. So we're told the Mahabhagavata has to descend to the Madhyam position, the intermediate position, to distinguish. This is desirable, that's undesirable. This is favorable, that's unfavorable. Whereas we can say from the angle of vision of the Mahabhagavata, everything's favorable. Everything's favorable for the culture of Krishna consciousness. But to adjust the Mayic misconception and adjust it in such a way that it moves toward proper Krishna conception is generally the work of the intermediate devotee, the Madhyam Adhikari. So even the Mahabhagavata descends to that platform to do the work of Guru. But according to different circumstances, different events in the life of a sadhaka, sometimes different conceptions are coming to the fore. One becomes more prominent than another. And it's not in any stereotypical way, but by divine grace. I mentioned recently that there's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam, Samasrita ye padapalava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho morare bhavam budhir vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. And there are similar verses to this. They say that when one comes under the shelter of the Supreme Lord through taking shelter of the lotus feet of his devotees, that the ocean of nescience, right, the bhava sindhu, bhava, the ocean of nescience, which is Devi hi esha gunamai mamad maya durataya, is insurmountable. It's impossible to cross over. We're told that ocean, once we come under the influence, sambandha avideya prayojan, the proper perspective from the Vaishnava, then it becomes reduced to vatsa pad, the water left in the hoof print of a calf. Right? That means a drop. And as an observation, as a footnote, sidebar, we could say, how is it that an ocean can become reduced to a drop? What does that mean? Or what does that allude to? Through a change of perspective. Right? As Guru Maharaj said, our seva overall, and on this theme, is to acquire the proper angle of vision. How do we acquire the proper angle of vision? But through serving and coming under the influence of Sadhu Shastra Guru Vaishnav. Then what was oceanic in proportion and insurmountable, ma meviye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite, having surrendered and taken shelter of the lotus feet of the devotee of Krishna, and by extension Krishna, then our perspective changes, how we see things. So what was oceanic becomes like a drop. Right? This sort of thing is being given there. So it's very hopeful and realistic. Now we may say, oh, well, that's for the higher devotees, they're seeing all these things, but that is not an argument in favor of something less than the truth. Right? We want to know what the truth is. What is the goal? Right? Part of establishing perspective is to understand the goal. You're proceeding towards a particular goal, then you can say, oh, well, in consideration that that is the goal, then I know I'm at this place right now. Right? So the next sensible thing for me to do from this position is to move this way, but with the goal in mind. We can't dismiss the goal as being something unachievable, unattainable. It's only for these great devotees. No one will ever be like that. Like when the Grand Inquisitor is speaking to Jesus in Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky, and he says, only you and your saint friends can follow all these things. But nobody else can. So all the people are riddled with guilt, knowing that they're substandard, that they can't maintain the standard. But you, Jesus, and a few of your saint friends, followers, you can do these things. But these poor people, they can't do that. Why should they live a life riddled with guilt? We let them sin a little bit, they feel okay. They're doing fine. Right? So, we hear all these statements of the scriptures. Prapanna Jivanamritam, Guru Maharaj has compiled all these different statements and expressions indicating the different aspects and limbs of surrender from great devotees. So we'll hear that, and to the degree that our hearts sympathize with that, it awakens some tendency within us. We can be honest and candid and say, oh, this is so far away. But at least we'll know the direction to proceed in. Once I said to Srila Guru Maharaj, he said, Kaviraj Goswami says, Jagai madhai hoite murise papista, purishe rakito hoite murise lagishta. I'm more sinful than Jagai and Madhai. I'm lower than the worm in the stool. It's painful to hear these things, but he expresses them nonetheless. So I said to Srila Guru Maharaj, all right, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is saying this. I said, but what if you actually are more sinful than Jagai and Madhai? What if you are lower than the worm in the stool? It's not some deep expression of humility from some grace. What if you actually are like that? And Guru Maharaj said, oh, such feelings are descending in you. And his implying, and he used the word plenary, he said, you think that he's posing, that he's speaking cleverly, or what's the other word? Insincerely. He said, no, this is a genuine expression of his heart. He really feels this way. Then we might think, how can such an exalted soul really feel like that? In the case of Arjuna and Bhagavad Gita, we'll say, oh, Yoga Maya, out of the necessity of Leela, Arjuna is confused, bewildered, in need of guidance. Yes, that's one adjustment we'll give. After Virat Rupa, when he says to Krishna, forgive me for now I see this divine display, I'm feeling ashamed at having addressed you as friend and sat on the same seat with you and treated you in a familiar way. He may really be feeling that. We may also point out that Krishna is saying, no, I like it when you treat me as friend and sit next to me and are affectionate with me. I like that more than sitting there with trembling palms saying, you're scaring me with your divinity. So, Srila Guru Maharaj's method of observing and measuring is what he calls negative tendency. He's saying to the degree, and he's equating humility, the culture of humility, with what he calls negative tendency. And here, negative means good, unlike in New Age jargon or modern pop psychology. Negative always means something bad. And we get that, we understand that, but we need to be dynamic in our thinking. Here, negativity is good and has some power. All these lights, so many things here, positive and negative, working together. So Guru Maharaj praising negative tendency and saying, this is the natural outcome of the proximity to greatness. Venting negative expressions. I'm so low, I'm this, that. Saying that is the outcome of the awareness of the proximity to greatness. So accepting this formula, then we can see that the greatest expressions of negativity are indicative of the greatest levels of penetration into the positive. And this sort of, or appreciation, and this sort of negativity attracts the positive. Right? Krishna's as irresistible as Krishna is, he's irresistibly drawn to the negativity or the humility as expressed by the devotees. So, and again, it's not posturing to make a show, to make clever expressions. That's not what is being discussed here, but rather genuine feeling of want, of need, that one is lacking, that sort of sincere expression. But we find all these different expressions from the great devotees, and it will give us some encouragement or inspiration to know that such people exist, right? And that such a plane exists. Just as in the Nam Nama Kari Bahudhani Jasarva Shakti slok of Shikshastakam, Tatrapitak Niyamatak Smaranena Kala, Etadrushi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdevam Idrusamiha Janinanurag. So here, the glories of the holy name, and the power, the potency of the holy name is being expressed. But in the first part and the second half, what's coming? Durdevam. But my bad luck, my misfortune, Durdevam Idrusamiha Nanuraga, I have no attraction. Such wonderful potential is there in the holy name of Krishna. The sum total of the infinite present in sound, divine sound. Said, but my Durdeva, misfortune, is I have no attraction. That's dealt with in the next verse. Trinadapi sunichena tororapi sahishnuna amanina mananena kirtaniya sadahari. So Srila Guru Maharaj summarizes this by saying, yes, it's true, everything lies within the sound of the holy name of Krishna, but to get to that plane where merely by vibrating the holy name of Krishna one gets everything, one may have to cross mountains and oceans to get there. Right? One mountain, what is that? Ahankar nivrittanam, keso nahi duraga, ahankar yutanam hi, something. What is it? Parbat Rishaya. Parbat means mountain. So then Krishnas are near and dear. Binod bole hai hai haridas harinahi pai. Bhakti Vinod said, then what? This is astonishing. Who's my nearest and dearest? Nowhere to be found. We're being separated by a mountain of ego. So to reach that plane, things will have to be crossed over. So again, back to that sloka. But that will be reduced, the ocean, to a drop. Right? Coming under the shelter of Krishna's devotee. But there, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur says, and here we go, with these deep level interpretation, vision of the great acharyas, he takes it to another level, back to the original point. He says, well, the water left in the hoof print of a calf. He says, well, Govinda, Krishna is Govinda. We worship the cow. Saying, so the water from the hoof print of a calf is worshipable to the devotee. So think, from a devotee's perspective, all the things of this world can be re-engineered to be seen favorably by them, right? As an impetus for remembrance of Krishna as opposed to forgetfulness. Just as when some devotees asked Srila Guru Maharaj about seeing ugly things in the Dham, right? In terms of visually or behavior or many different things. Apasiddhanta, sahajya, so many things. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, it's come to contrast what is real. Right? To press the devotee to remember what is real and what is substantial. There's a famous sloka that Srila Guru Maharaj liked to quote that says, it's according to one's inner condition how they'll see the world. So it does, as a businessman sees everything as a business opportunity. Right? Like now it's popular. People will say, everything is, you could be networking at any time. You never know when you're going to meet somebody, so you give them your card or your e-card, and that way make many contacts. And so someone who's so inclined, they're seeing everything as business opportunity. Then it says, or someone under the influence of lust, look constantly reading the environment for that prospect. And then it says, similarly are the devotees of Narayan, and by extension Krishna, seeing everything as in terms of its possibility for Krishna culture. We're looking at the Mridanga here. And Guru Maharaj told the story of one man who, when he saw vultures in the sky, he started going, Haribo, Haribo, Hare Krishna. He was ecstatic. And everyone was thinking, what? This is so peculiar. He's mad. And Guru Maharaj explained, the vultures reminded him of the crematorium. That reminded him of the carcasses and the skin from which the mridangas are made. So he said, Haribo, Haribo, by seeing the vultures. A vulture is a bird of prey. These big birds that eat dead bodies. Yeah. So that was his way of seeing. So we can't just select, well, then I'm going to see everything this way. Hearing how the Vaishnavas see things, regularly we're hearing from them, about them, the statements of Sadhu Shastra Guru Vaishnav. There's some cumulative effect upon us and how we will see, observe, interpret life circumstances. Once someone said to Guru Maharaj, but these are all philosophical ideas. As if to imply, what is the value really of the culture of philosophy? And Guru Maharaj gave the example of Faraday. He'd given a demonstration of electricity, and he showed how by electric current he could move a piece of paper. And so some lady came to him and said, Faraday, what is the use of this? So with electric current you move the piece of paper. What is the use of that? And he said, Madam, what is the use of a newborn babe? It will grow, its potential will develop in time. There's the seed of some potential there, it will develop. So we always discuss Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed. We say the conceptual seed, the seed of conception, the seed of Krishna conception. We can also say it's the seed of seeing things a particular way. Right? Back to acquiring the proper angle of vision. So hearing from the experts and how they see things, we may feel a million light years away from that in terms of spiritual development, but we can at least take heart to know there is a plane where people genuinely see things that way. The higher devotees. And we're trying to gradually come under the influence of their way of seeing. So not to imitate that, but to begin to move in that direction. Allow it to spread its influence upon us and influence the way we interpret life and life circumstances. That's what it's about. How we interpret life and life circumstances. So Guru Maharaj is telling, religion means proper adjustment. There's always going to be this tension between the absolute and the relative. So we need to clearly understand what the absolute is so we can see how to adjust the relative. What's reasonable, practicable, pragmatic, how we can adjust the relative in terms of the absolute. Hangsa, Paramahamsa. A Paramahamsa does what a Hangsa does, but expertly. Otherwise, we would just say Hangsa. Swan. And what does that mean? Extracting the gist, the sar. Sarvedantam, Sarvedanta saram yad. the cream, the gist, what is essential. Bara bahi sara grahi. Sar again means cream, meaning what is essential. In Gita, Rasoham apsukonteya prabhasmi shashishurayo pranava sarva vedeshu shabdake purusham nashu. We may not always see like that. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and moon, etc. But sometimes we might. And that will be good. Modest growth, natural development, modest natural growth, not artificial ripening. When Krishna is praising the trees of Vrindavan to Balaram, Etabaj Janma Sapalyam Dehi, something, Karmana Manasabacha, or Diya, Danam. He mentions this, and this is the prelude to the chapter about the Vipra Patnis, the wives of the Brahmins, how those Brahmins will dismiss the request of the cowherd boys to offer something to Krishna and Balaram under the guise of following, Arjapata. Right? The Vedic path. Right? They think we're following the rules and regulations strictly. Right? So they will deny Krishna and Balaram. Whereas their wives will come through in shining colors. Right? But the chapter at the conclusion of the chapter before that, hinting at what will follow, Krishna says to Balaram, oh, look at these trees of Vrindavan. They're such exalted souls. They're living for the service of others. When Guru Maharaj is explaining Tarorapi Sahishnuna, says the tree, while someone is cutting the tree, maybe it's hot, the tree is providing shade to that man who's cutting the tree. Being cut, but providing shade. You talk about humility and tolerance. What sort of tolerance is that? Someone's cutting you, you're shading and sheltering them. So Krishna praising these trees and how they live to serve others. And it's mentioned there. What are the different ways? By your body, your mind, your words, your intelligence. There's so many different ways that one can serve. Whatever our position is at any given point in time, there's some sort of seva that we can do. Sometimes Srila Gurudev would say, if circumstances were such that he couldn't do what he desired to do in terms of service, still he met that obligation. He would say, something is better than nothing. Right? And we can say, in Krishna consciousness, something is better than nothing is really true. Here's the one place where something is like infinitely better than nothing. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. A little bit of Krishna consciousness can deliver the full result. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. Nashta prayesha bhadreshu. Krishna is free to give the full result in response to the minimum from the other side. Any other question? Yes.
I don't know how to clearly formulate this, but somehow it was said that God gives like material things for people. Like first there are material things, then like on the border there is a jiva, and then a high spiritual energy. So material things should be submitted.
Like, what's a material thing? Give me an example.
You know, some things in this world.
Name it. Name one.
A table.
A table.
Yes.
Okay.
Like this, they should serve to human beings. But then we hear that Maya captures jiva. So somehow it makes jiva serve to material world. So what should we do? Like, we should use material things?
Oh, you mean to be like a servant of material things instead of using them in service?
Yes, yes. Like,
Yes, one of the American transcendentalists, maybe Thoreau or Emerson, he said, things are in the saddle and ride man. You know what that is? Like a saddle on a horse? Anyway. Yeah, that's the predicament in the modern world. Or as Marshall McLuhan said in his famous book on media, that what did he say? The medium is the message. So when Srila Saraswati Thakur was questioned why he was using modern technology when traditionally sadhus, saints in India, they didn't even wear shoes. Right? And now he is using all the modern technology. And some people thought this was a violation. But this is what we told the other day, his motto, Pujala Ragapat Gaura Babange, Matala Sarujana Vishaya Range. So here Vishaya means the mundane. In service to the Ragapat, Ragamarg, the higher plane of Krishna consciousness, we don't think we're that, but we're trying to serve that plane. From here, that all these things may be used. We're told this is Yukta Vairagya, as expressed by Rupa Goswami. What does it say? Anashaktasya Vishayan. Same there is that word Vishaya. Yataham upayunjitaha nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagya muchyate. as opposed to falgu vairagya, false renunciation. So, the question is whether or not something is genuinely being used in the service of Krishna. That's the criterion. So if the devotee is sincerely under the order of Guru and Vaishnav, using these things in the service of Krishna, then they'll again have confidence that they'll be free from coming under their influence. But to the degree that that's not true, then there's some danger there. Does that answer your question? Yes.
А я слышал, что Гурудев переделал эту шлоку, потому что слово «вишая» стали толковать не совсем правильно. Он может делать все, что угодно, и тогда Гурудев переделал на киртан. А так ли это? Это было связано с неверным толкованием этой шлоки?
I have heard that Gurudev has modified this shloka.
Yes.
Because people started to use the word Vishaya as like you can do whatever you want. So he replaced it with the word Kirtan. Is that true? Or not?
Well, particularly Bengali people, because we can say these words are relatively meaningless to people who don't speak Bengali. Whether you say Vishaya Range or Kirtan, they don't know what you're talking about. People in the West. But in Bengal, they see this word Vishaya, and generally a Vishayi is the word that's used for a materialist. And Vishaya Range, like relishing the mundane. Like, so, and in the light of Prakrita Sahajiyas, it seemed that there's a lot of room for abuse, so that this would not be misinterpreted by certain people, and particularly they were going to put this on the walls of the Mat. So he asked Guru Maharaj for permission to change it to Kirtanarange, and Guru Maharaj agreed. But it was not to correct Saraswati Thakur that what he spoke originally, it wasn't to nullify that. It was to check misinterpretation from a certain section of people. But Saraswati Thakur used this to mean, yes, we're going to use the printing press to print books, the motor car. He told, when he was in Vrindavan on Parikrama in a motor car at the time. It's hard to imagine by modern standards, but that was considered really the paraphernalia of a materialist. Like, I can never forget hearing Srila Prabhupada give a lecture many years ago, and he was talking about how degraded people have become in the modern world. He said, now, in the modern world, he said, everyone is a drunkard, meat eater, womanizer, motor car driver. Like these were all the same. So that sort of says it all, right? So Saraswati Thakur, not only is he in a motor car, but in Radha Kunda in a motor car. This is pressing people's buttons. That's why when one of the local people said, some punda in a mood of arrogance said, you know, thinking of his Brahmin class ancestors, he said, and Das Goswami in one of his prayers says, Bu Suragan, the Brahmins are the devas of this world, we pray for their ashirvad, their blessings. He said, yeah, we can give blessings to Das Goswami, yes. This was so disturbing to Srila Saraswati Thakur that he would speak in such a cavalier way about the Prayojan Tattva Acharya of the Rupa Nuga line, that he was so disturbed internally that he began fasting. And so that man thought, after they do the parikrama, the tour, he said, oh, now we'll distribute prasadam. And they said, no, our Guru Maharaj, he won't take any prasadam, and neither will any of his followers. We refuse to take any prasadam from your hand. And the man was shocked, like, why? What happened? And one of Saraswati Thakur's principal followers explained to him, you've insulted our Guru Maharaj and the Prayojan Tattva, Raghunath Das Goswami of this line with your statement, the Brahmins can give blessings to Das Goswami. This is intolerable to him. You don't know what you've said. And that man was humble. He said, really, truly, I don't know what I've said. I am begging forgiveness, my ignorance, to say such a thing thoughtlessly. To be so thoughtless to express something like that. Now I understand, I've committed a great offense. And he fell at the feet of Saraswati Thakur, begging forgiveness. And Saraswati Thakur could see that it was genuine, it was real, accepted that, and then they took prasad and everything became happiness. But later, Saraswati Thakur pointed out, we talk about religion means proper adjustment and how, from what position, what things to consider. He said, were I a Babaji, if I was living here as a Babaji, myself, just going on with my own internal culture, and I would hear something like that from someone like him, I would just withdraw and leave that place. I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't make an issue about it. I would just leave. Right? And actually these are allusions to statements of Jiva Goswami and different parts of Vedic literature, how you behave under certain conditions. But this was his point. And then he said, but I am an acharya of this line, and I've come here in a motor car. I'm in Vrindavan in a motor car as the acharya of this line. I've got 1,000 followers with me. I have to take a stand. So therefore, I took this position. So this gives us some hint also about adjustment. Saying, were I in this position, I'd let it go. I wouldn't have made an issue. But in consideration of my post, my position, I had to say something because I'm responsible for teaching others so that they will know what is proper, what is improper. And we're back to Mahabhagavata, Madhyam Bhagavat, adjusting non-Krishna to Krishna. Mayak misconception, the proper Krishna conception. So why did I say that? Oh, about Vishayarange. Yeah. So it's interesting. When did he compose Pujala Ragapat, Gaurava Bange, Matala Sarujana Vishayarange? When, on the day of the inauguration of the Bagh Bazar Gaudiya Mat, which was to be their flagship temple. So they're moving from their hired house in Ultadanga, taking the deities in procession, in a grand procession festival on a Chitrata, to the new flagship center, and he composed this song, of which this is the refrain, and it's a principle he's employing, that he's using all of these things to entice the people and bring them in connection with Krishna consciousness. Guru Maharaj says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he had the first modern celebration of Gaur Purnima in the Yogpit, after to announce this is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, to announce that to the world and to establish the seva there, he had an exhibition of birds of the Dham. So people could come and say, oh, like we have some fascination with that. This is the kokil, this is that, and these birds, each one of them, one has a particular sound, some of them make movements that are, the Goswamis used to indicate certain divine things and describing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So he's showing, here's the birds of the Dham, right? The flowers of the Dham, the fruits of the Dham. So, and other things. So sometimes Guru Maharaj said, Bishaya Range translates as bait. You understand bait? Bait is like what you catch a fish with. You put something on a hook and you catch a fish. So, Srila Prabhupada Swami Maharaj, once he was walking around Mayapur, now we see it's so developed, it looks like a city. Like the city Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw in his divine vision. At the time, this was like first building was being made. And Prabhupada's walking through these beautiful rice fields, and he said, if I was living here in a hut, in a rice field, which he could, and I've seen him live that way. He lived that way in Bhubaneswar for some time, like in an army tent, and very happily. He said, if I was living here in a hut, he said, nobody would come to see me. He said, but we'll make a big building, temple, grand accommodations. They have an air-conditioned bus going from Calcutta. And tens of thousands of people are going. So, also, Saraswati Thakur, it's not that he needed some grand facilities for himself. He said the only thing he needed was an audience. That's what he wanted, an audience to hear his Krishna conception. But these other things were employed to get that audience. Hare Krishna.